We're on cobblestones in a slammed R31. What's up, guys? My name is Katie. This is my R31 Skyline, and you're watching East Coast Garage.
Oh, hey, by the way, this is Jordan, too. Her friend Jordan's hanging out with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. She came from the 80s also.
Yes.
We time traveled for this video. That's why the car is so clean. It's brand new. I brought it from 86. No, just kidding.
Yeah, so this is a R31 Skyline. I don't see any of these around. Like, usually it's a R32 or 33. Every once in a while an R34, which is cool to see. So I think this is one of the coolest, like, Japanese cars that came out of the 80s. What about you?
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's also the pinnacle of like cutting edge 80s technology too, because it's got so many like interesting features on it, like four-wheel steering on an 86 and like active aero on an 86 is crazy.
Yeah, and how does the four-wheel steering work on this?
So it's the first gen HiCus system. So it is the early iteration of what you would find on like the R32s and the S13s and stuff, like Super HiCus and HiCus 2. This is the OG. It moves the entire rear subframe. I've read that it moves it by like less than 1 degree. It's not a visible amount of difference, but you can feel it at highway speeds. The car is like super nimble, like when you're changing lanes on the highway.
That is some crazy technology for 1986. So this must have pretty good suspension under it, huh?
It's pretty good, I would say. I mean, I did get Fortune Auto coilovers. I love them. The stock suspension was like really bad when I got the car. The previous owner said, the suspension's bad. It feels like driving a waterbed. And I drove it and I was like, he's right. It did feel like driving a waterbed. It was rather terrible. The stock suspension was like completely gone when I got the car. So Fortune Auto is one of only 2 companies I knew of that make suspension for this car. Fortune is here in Richmond, and the other company I know of is called Angry Industries over in Australia. They make custom suspension for R31s as well. But I went with Fortune because they're local. So this knob here actually used to be for the factory suspension dampening, which of course we took off when I got the Fortune Auto coilovers. It still like blinks like it's mad sometimes. You can see it at night because it's mad that it doesn't work. Well, obviously it doesn't work. It's not on the car. It's a Red Top RB20DET, and it's the first iteration of it. So it still has the NICS system on it, the Nissan Induction Control System. It's the predecessor to the ECCS system that you'll find on the later R31 Skylines, as well as the silver top RB20s and the R32s. So this car has like a whole different engine management system. It's a completely different style of fuel injector and everything. It's very interesting. And I also have an upgraded turbo on this. It's the RB25DET Turbo.
Oh, word.
That comes on the R34 GTTs.
Yeah.
They have like a steel turbine, and the original turbo in this car is a ceramic. So it's a little bit more reliable. So a lot of people, when they upgrade the turbos, they go to the 25 Neos.
And what's the difference between a silver and a red top?
The silver tops are newer. Those are in like the R32s. The red tops are in the R31s. I know that the silver tops do have a little bit more power. They're definitely easier to build. All of my Australian friends, they hear that I have like a NICS red top and not a ECCS, and they're like, no, the NICS is junk. Just like, if you want to build it, get a silver top. But I have like probably about 60,000 original miles. I'm like not even at 100,000 kilometers on this car yet.
Right.
So I try to keep it as original as possible because I do want to try to preserve it as best as I can, since there's not a lot of these left. There's like a lot of them that are already modified that like, if I wanted to modify one, I wouldn't do one like this pristine to modify, you know?
Yeah.
But I do love that it's like so stock and like, well, it's not stock because I did just talk about upgrading the turbo and stuff, but I like that it's so original and like hasn't really been messed with. It's got original paint and everything. It makes me feel like I'm more like I'm in the 80s, and I love that.
Yeah.
I also kind of feel like it's my job to take good care of this car and preserve it so future generations can like really experience the magic, because I really do think it's so special. And they're not making any more of them. I really love that like So there's not many R31s around. And when I go to car shows and stuff, oftentimes my car is people's very first experience seeing an R31. And it's so fun to get to be people's like first. Like I'll pull into car meets sometimes, and oftentimes there's people that don't even realize that it's a Skyline because they've never seen one. And then they see the back of the car and they see that it says Skyline and they're like, oh, no way, that's an old Skyline. They're like so excited.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm still excited. Every time I get behind the wheel, I'm still excited. I've had this car 6 years, 6.5 years.
This thing sounds so good. I mean, RB motors already sound awesome, but there's something about an RB20 that's just like, whap.
Oh yeah, I love it. I just got a new exhaust on it, a custom exhaust. It sounds so good.
It sounds so good.
It sounds so pretty. Like, I'm just obsessed with it.
It sounds almost exotic, you know?
Yeah. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, like I said, RB motors already sound good, but there's something about an RB20. It's just like, it's just
so
super
good.
raspy and like perfect.
And the exhaust note sounds amazing as well. My buddy Wade did a custom exhaust for me. Oh, it made the driving experience so much better because I used to be driving it around with an open downpipe because the rest of my exhaust wouldn't fit with the new downpipe.
Yeah.
So the downpipe that I got for this car is actually made for RB swapped S chassis. And I was told to get it because it gives you a little bit of extra ground clearance underneath, because normally the exhaust is like the lowest hanging thing underneath on these cars. So it gives me a little bit of extra clearance, but then it was about 3 inches shorter than the factory downpipe. So then once I put it on, I couldn't put the rest of my exhaust back on, and it was like, had rust holes and stuff in it anyway. So my friend Wade, he does a really great job with fabrication work, and I had him do me a new exhaust, and it's fantastic. So this car has an active front spoiler. Porsche is always credited as having the first production car with active aero. This car came out the same year. From what I can find, these cars were actually delivered to customers before the Porsches were. So this was actually the first production car that you could get your hands on that has active aero, which is really, really cool. It's speed activated. I mean, I can put it up and down when the car is parked and I have the e-brake up. But otherwise, when I'm driving, it's speed activated and it'll just come up and down when I'm driving, which is really, really cool. That's specifically why I really wanted this car, is for that spoiler. Oh, I can talk about how I got the car. That's kind of a cool story. I was a broke college kid, actually, when I bought this car. I was working a retail job, like part-time, and I would like skip meals sometimes because like if I spent $10 buying food, that was $10 more I had to save up to get my Skyline. And I actually saw this car like listed when I was like first started looking, but I didn't have the money yet. And I started saving up for it. The description looked kind of sketchy. There was like a 1-line description or so, and it was like maybe 5 photos or something. This was on Craigslist. This was like before Facebook Marketplace had really taken off. This was on Craigslist. This was in 2018. And it had like 5 photos or so and like a 1-line description in the ad. And I was like, man, I don't know, this looks a little sketchy. But I really wanted one with the active aero, the auto spoiler on it. And this was the only one I could find for sale on the entire East Coast that had the auto spoiler. And the car just happened to be like 20 minutes from my house, which was insane. So even though the ad like looked a little sketchy, I was like, let's go for it. Let's go look at it anyways, because, you know, I really want the active aero. And I went to look at it and everything was like totally on the up and up. Like the photos were like taken in the yard at a body shop because the guy worked at a body shop and like just parked the car there. And everything was good. It ended up being the R31 that J-Spec had imported back in 2016. So I'd already seen like the original listing for this car and everything. So I knew which one it was. So yeah, it was really cool. I didn't realize it'd have this like 1 year only motor in it. It's been quite a pain to find parts for, but
yeah, that was my next question. Like, how hard is it to get parts for something like this?
depends on what the part is. If it's something that you can use apart from like an R32, it's really easy. 'Cause, like, there's so many R32s around, and there's such a good network of people that like you could just hit up a group chat, and chances are somebody has it. But if it's a more engine specific part, especially if it's a part that's specific to the Nix engine, it can be really challenging to find. So my fuel injectors, it took me about 4 months to find them, and I did not find them until someone tipped me off to another car that used the same injectors. So Nissan, when they sold the R31s in Australia, the Aussie spec ones, they put in naturally aspirated RB30s. And to make the production costs more feasible for them, Holden was also buying those RB30s and putting them in their, like, I think it was the VL Commodore was the generation that had it. And a friend of mine tipped me off to the fact that when Holden went to turbo, the Commodores, they used the same turbo setup as the Nix RB20.
Oh,
so
wow.
those Commodores use the exact same fuel injectors. And so, like, if you try to find like fuel injectors and you type in like RB20, Nix RB20 or whatever, like, you really can't find, because there's not the product description available to tell you if it would even work on this spec of RB20. But if you type in Holden Commodore Calais fuel injectors, you can find them. And I found them on Australian eBay from like a Holden restoration shop. And it cost like an arm and a leg, but I needed them.
Yeah.
I wanted to stick with the stock fuel injector size, because I didn't want to get into trying to tune this or everything. Because
Right.
from what I've heard, like, these are not great to tune, and like I was like, I'd rather just pay more for the stock injectors than like get a cheaper injector and then have to spend just as much money in like supporting mods and stuff and make the car less reliable.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do try to preserve it when I can, and then if I can find like a little OEM plus thing here and there, that's always fun too. Like, for example, the R31 and the F31. The F31 is the Leopard and the Infiniti M30 here in the United States. The Infiniti M30 and the Nissan Leopard, the F31 chassis, is substantially similar to the R31 in terms of geometry at the very front end. So when my radiator went bad, I found out that the Infiniti M30 radiator is an exact bolt up for my car. And the Infiniti M30 radiator happens to be like a little bit of an OEM plus upgrade, because the factory radiator for these is single pass and the M30 one is dual pass.
Okay.
And I couldn't find it at almost any auto parts store, and I happened to find one at AutoZone, and it was the last one they had, and they shipped it from their warehouse in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So if they haven't restocked since then, rest in peace to any Infiniti M30 owners that need a radiator. Sorry, I needed one too. The name of my car ties in with that. My car is named Lita, after Lita Ford.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes!
That's awesome.
So I'm like super, super into 80s hair metal, and I like name all of my cars like with names that are like related to 80s hair metal. Like my Firebird, my first car, is named Panama after the Van Halen song.
That's awesome.
This girl is named Lita after Lita Ford. My RX-7 is named Elena after it's from some lyrics to a rap song. My S13 was Roxy after Roxy Petrucci, the drummer for Vixen and Madam X. And then my Civic is Tawny, named after Tawny Katayan, who's the girl that you see like doing the flips on the Jaguars in the Whitesnake video.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, definitely like all 80s names for my cars.
So Katie, if you think that if they tried to remake a car like this, do you think it would run the same?
No. So emissions laws would prevent a car like this from ever being made again. Also like safety laws for like the chassis and stuff. Fun fact, so this is not true of all R31s, because I've asked my other R31 owner friends about it, and like their cars all have them, but my car does not have rear seat belts. Doesn't have rear seat belts.
So I'm not strapped in, guys.
Yeah, if I were flying too fast, Jordan would go flying through the windshield. So we're gonna be safe. But there's not even mounts for the seat belts or anything.
That's wild.
There's just no seat belts. I didn't realize that till after I got the car and I had a backseat passenger for the first time. And they're like, where's the seatbelt? And I'm like, I don't know. Is it not back there? We're on cobblestones in a slammed R31.
It's going up and down.
This is a unique experience. First time driving the R31 on cobblestones. Ooh. There we go. You guys got to join me in this journey.
We made it. Nice. Oh, there's my horse.
Oh, there's a horse and buggy. Do you think I can pass them in the other lane? Is that etiquette?
So. I don't know. If we do, we'll do it on YouTube.
Should I drive past them?
Yeah, let's do it. If anything happens, it was my idea. So.
There's horses. Yeah, I don't know the driving etiquette for passing a horse and buggy. This is so cool. Marlboro Skylines. They're not actually from the 80s. I don't think they were around in the 80s. They're more of a modern thing, but I happened to be interning with Altria back when they still had them in production, and I got them out the vending machine like back when they were like, I think they were just discontinuing them, and I got some of the last ones. And I was like, that would be the perfect like prop to like sit in my dash. I don't smoke in my car. I'm not gonna smoke in my car, nor do I smoke in general, but it's a cute prop. This car is so comfortable for like road trips and everything. It's more of like a grand touring kind of design than like the R32, 33, 34s. Like those are kind of a little family. The 30s and 31s are kind of like their own little siblings in a way, but it's very, very comfortable. I've driven it, the farthest I've driven it's like 4 hours. I haven't driven it super, super far, but it is very, very comfortable. Usually if I drive like on a road trip and I have a passenger, they oftentimes fall asleep in the passenger seat because it's so comfy.
I just want to say thanks for giving us a ride today because this car is super awesome. You're cool from the 80s. You're cool from the 80s. Where can people find you on social media?
So my name is Katie, and I like to spell it with the number 80. So my Instagram is katie.official, but it's Katie spelled K80.
Oh,
so
cool.
K80.official, Katie.
I'll put it in the description below to make it
Yes!
easy. And then also, where can people find you at, Jordan?
My name is Jordan, and you can find me over on TikTok. It is Can't Buy Me 80s, as well as Instagram is also Can't Buy Me 80s, like the movie Can't Buy Me Love.
One last cool feature we didn't talk about is the Skyline emblem in the headlights. That just adds icing on the cake for me. I think it's super awesome. Anyways, thanks for checking this out. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next one.